All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of BloxFam Breakthroughs. It is a gorgeous fall day here in Chicago, and I actually got to go for a walk this morning after dropping my son off at school, so my brain's kind of already in overdrive today, so this is going to be a fun one. So today I'm here with fellow castmate from season 17 of TheBlox, Martina Douglas, and funny enough, we were actually just talking about our ADHD brains and our just inability to stop adding things and to slow down, and that's a whole other topic for another day. I feel like for the other podcast too, I would love to actually talk deeper on that on my other podcast. Okay, so today we are here to talk about our time on the blocks, and really just kind of diving into what that experience was like, what we took out of that experience, and kind of where we are now with that. So before we get too deep into there, why don't you let everybody watching know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Martina Douglas. As mentioned, I was on TheBlox season 17.
Whoop, whoop.
And yes, and it was like a life-changing experience. We all say that, and it sounds so cult-like and cliche, but it really, really, really was. And so my product. So what I went on the show, I kind of have a couple things going on, but I went on the show because I was in the process of launching. I was in pre-launch for a product called MenoVita Power, and it is for perimenopause, menopause, active women. It's basically a micronutrient vitamin, 1 scoop a day, daily powder form to offset some of the more severe side effects that come through when you're in perimenopause and menopause. And as part of that, leaning in more on the education, advocacy, health advocacy, especially for women. And again, really leverage the platform of TheBlox to make sure that I was checking all the boxes. Then I realized that never happens. There's a lot of learnings. But the reason I went on there was really to support that product launch.
Yeah, amazing. So how did this begin? So maybe give us a little backstory about the gym as well. So we got serial entrepreneurs here, guys. We can't do one thing, we have to do 10. Okay.
This is true. I feel like I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I will say, you have to have that spirit and desire and willing to take risks. And JOT, I just had watched that interview that you guys did, which I loved. I love that you're doing this, and she had mentioned that, and I totally agree. Honestly,
well, you're here, so you've already mentioned it because you're here.
I know, but it's reminiscing of it. It's just it's such a great thing. But I think the backstory that I have is really around the fact that I was solving my own problem, and I think that's how a lot of the true entrepreneurial pursuits kind of come, right? You're I need to solve for something that I'm dealing with. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we fell into was really the gym. There was a space that basically there was a gap in the marketplace. There were a bunch of our friends who were we need a CrossFit gym. We want to get together. We need to build out this community. And there really wasn't anyone in the specific region. There wasn't a great gym. I think
Where are you again?
So I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I live in a small subdivision off of town within Raleigh. And then the gym is actually in a different town, but they're all 15 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And so, so we built the CrossFit gym really to be yo, we need something. People want to get together and work out. And CrossFit, everybody has differing opinions about CrossFit. Our company is Fitness for All. We're big advocates for, just move your body. But ultimately, our gym is, I think the priority is the culture. We're super, super focused on having a really strong culture and community. You're going to meet your best friend. You might even meet your prospective partner. We've had a few weddings, some kids all through this gym. No joke. People, getting out of their homes or getting out of their routines to develop a new routine that's going to bolster their health and happiness and mental health. That's really been our focus. Oh, and yeah, you're going to get fit and feel good about yourself. That's pretty much what we've always been focused on. And so as part of that, I realized that all of a sudden I was having I had twins, and 18 months after having my twins, I noticed that my gains had slowed down quite a bit. I was suffering from serious lethargy. I was just not feeling myself. And a lot of that was chalked up to postpartum. I have an older child as well. And I said, I know this isn't postpartum, something else is going on. And I had my kids later. So I did a lot of research, a lot of self-advocacy, found a functional health practitioner who identified that I was perimenopausal, because if there's not like an actual diagnosis for perimenopause, there is only one for menopause, but perimenopause can last for like 10 years. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to be doing this for 10 years. And had the opportunity to get some relief through specific treatment plan. And as part of that treatment plan, it was these supplements and these, like the vitamins that I was actually very deficient. And as your hormone depletion continues, like estrogen, progesterone, you're given a buffer through the hormones. And once that's removed, like you feel the depletion, like the deficiency becomes very obvious and the side effects of that become very obvious. So I started taking the supplements, noticed a marked change, but it required me to take a number of pills a day. They were very expensive. They generally packaged them individually. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Ended up creating my own supplementation formula, seeking out my own like individual manufacturers to build out my own thing, and added in collagen and creatine so I could just make it easier on myself and be more efficient. I'm a very efficient person. And then realized that, other women needed this, especially within my gym, like the community itself. Like there was a pretty large group of women who were also suffering. So that propelled me to consider this as something that I could be doing more as a full-time thing. So that was the birthplace of the inception basically of MenoVita.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that like you label yourself as an accidental entrepreneur, because I do feel like a lot of entrepreneurs do kind of like stumble into it. Like it's not necessarily something that they sought out.
Right.
And a lot of us can become very successful at that because what we're doing, like you said, is solving a problem. And I think that a lot of people who like the term entrepreneur and they want to be an entrepreneur, they don't get that. Like they think that they're coming in with this idea and like everybody's going to love it and everybody's going to like pay them all this money. And then the biggest issue I see as a brand and marketing expert is that people don't know what problem they're solving. They literally just were like, I thought this would be a cool tech gadget and I thought people would like it. And why aren't people buying it? Well, because you're not telling them what you're solving. Like it's crazy to me. And so a lot of us who stumble into entrepreneurship, I won't say become more successful, because that's a really vague way to say that, but like we become successful in a different way because we actually came in solving the problem, and then we kind of like have the reverse experience where we solve the problem and then we know we're doing this and this and then we fall off somewhere, and the other people, they might be excelling in those parts but they fall off when it comes to that like direct connection. So I think that's really interesting that you call yourself an accidental, because I think that's actually really common. I think a lot of people can truly relate to that. And I think it's really interesting because, taking a bunch of pills is something every woman's going to do at some point, right? We take a bunch of pills when we're pregnant too, or to get pregnant, or, all the things. And they're awful. They're awful. They're huge. They taste bad. You like burp up whatever, like it was like the fish oil. Like I remember being pregnant and like, it was just awful. It was awful. So totally. You two are in a unique position where you're solving multiple problems. Like you are not just solving one problem. You are solving multiple problems, which she is passionate about packaging. She is passionate about the ability of the powder. She's very passionate about the taste of it. She's solving a lot of these problems that women know because entrepreneurship, because you are not just like out there solving one problem. You are truly solving like a handful of them with one thing, which I think is like phenomenal. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about pre-filming. So, for context for everybody out there, I believe we are about 3.5 months post filming. So we'll get into post filming stuff in a little bit, but where were you at pre-Tulsa? Like what was that season like in that first couple months? Do you know when you got the official like email or text messages? I don't even remember how it came, that you were cast.
I think it was like March.
Okay.
I think that was around there, maybe April. It was like a few months prior. I remember there being like a long lag time. and thinking
Yeah.
it was kind of far away. And then it was
Yeah.
like, it's here.
Right. You're like, oh, I have so much
Yeah.
time. I have so much time. And then you're like,
Yeah,
holy
and
shit,
I
I
was
have
like,
to
"I
leave
have
next
no
week.
time." Yeah, I'm like leaving, and I keep a whiteboard of our family life, and it was sitting there, so like I knew it was there, but I was like, wait, that's like a month. Wait, that's like 2 weeks. Yeah, I remember that pretty vividly.
Oh
Yeah,
shit, my plane leaves tomorrow. I should pack.
yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I probably need to get my life together, and I almost didn't like to be perfectly honest with you. I like almost didn't end up.
Okay.
Oh wait, can you hear me? Did you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay,
I
good.
don't know if it
No, I
was
was
me or
gonna
you
say
that froze.
oh, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I almost decided not to go. Like I was really like literally at the last minute being like, this is so selfish. I'm going to leave my family behind. I'm going to leave my husband and my kids and all of like the things, all of our responsibilities behind. And I was really, really stressed out about that. So while I felt like I needed to put myself out there, I also didn't really know exactly where I was supposed to be with the product. Like how far
Sure.
should you be in launch? Should you not? Even though they kind of told you that, I think a lot of that was the unknown felt really, really, really scary, which is kind of part of entrepreneurship. I think there were a lot of like key lessons that they were trying to throw at us throughout the way, even before we got there. And so, yeah, I don't know. It was definitely a mixed feeling of imposter syndrome was big for me.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it was a competition, I think put this like little bit of layer of I'm a competitive person, but I'm also very much like I want everyone to win. Like I am very much like, can we have all ships rise? And so, I think all of the facets of what this was going to be, this event in my life, I very could easily not gone on that plane. It was close, I will say.
Yeah, and if for anyone watching who hasn't been on the blocks, they don't do much pre-filming to like let us into whatever anything is really going to be like. So maybe someone ends up watching this who has been cast but hasn't filmed yet. Well, you're in for a treat then, because you get kind of like a little bit of an idea of what it was like to film. But yeah, I mean, like the beforehand was stressful in its own right, because it was the time frame where our brains went wild of like all of the things that could happen or might happen, or oh my god, like so what season of business were you in then? Why were you feeling so kind of like pulling yourself back, like you don't deserve this, or this is selfish, or whatever? Like what season of business were you in at that point?
I mean, I was in pre-launch. I could have easily have launched before I went, but I also felt like, maybe this is a chance. I mean, I had launched a brick and mortar before. I've been in service-based business for a really long time, not as an entrepreneur, like through W-2, but I also did consulting. So I'm like, I have familiar with all the different things, but having a product, it was like a totally different beast. And I know you've talked about that before on some previous episodes. It's really hard to understand. Like it exists already, but all the processes, maybe those could shift a little. Like I wanted to go into it realizing that there were things that I probably could learn just by being participating within the incubator program that maybe I should know before I launch. So that's the way I treated it. So it was very much a pre-launch opportunity, but by pre-launch, I mean, just because I just didn't pull the trigger. Like it's been sitting.
Right. Like you've had the product.
Yeah, exactly. So it was ready to do it.
No, that makes so much sense, and I appreciate your transparency of saying that you had these moments before you left that were just total imposter syndrome, and in transparency, I also was in the midst of kind of like shifting my business from being a marketing agency to a branding agency, and it was really stressful right around the time that I got cast, and I remember in the beginning feeling like this is the universe telling me that like this is the right decision, and this is going to solidify this, and this is whatever. And then 2 weeks before I left, I mean, I was literally like ready to throw everything in my office into a dumpster fire and just go jump in a lake. I mean, like I was literally like, I want to burn it all down. I'm not going to Tulsa if I'm going to burn everything down. Like, this is so silly, right? And I think it's interesting, and I think we should actually talk about this before we go any deeper. How did we get past that? How did you work past that feeling? How did you get your ass on the plane?
I will say that I am a firm believer. I don't remember what book I read. Maybe it was like The Millionaire Mind. I think it might have been that. I read this like a long time ago. And I think I was referencing this recently. When you the reason this is relevant is that there's a part of that book where they talk about those who have made their millions and are seen as successful, right? In terms of like their equity, that their partner is like very critical to that. And so like the person you marry or choose to spend your life with is going to be very important to your success. And so one of the things that I think that helps me make some of those decisions when I'm in this like weird gray period is definitely my husband. Like he is, when like we have to make a choice. Like I have to make this big decision, and I feel like I'm putting him in mostly it's him, right? You're offloading the burden is going to stay with them. He's always very direct with me and says, no, that's ridiculous. Like you need to do this for yourself. It's going to be fine. And I think like that always like kind of calms me, but it's the checks and balances of just having somebody on my team that's advocating for what maybe I'm not prepared to do myself, and like trusting me with the fact that this is the right thing. I think that was a huge part of it. I mean, I have self-confidence, but I also think that that's just not enough. Like you need something else. Like self-confidence, I don't know, that can really be borderline like ego. And I try not to let anything feed into that. I try to really think about what am I trying to accomplish? And my mission is always bigger than just like a revenue component. Like it has to be more. There has to be a bigger why than that. So yeah,
for sure. And I feel like self-confidence is such a vague term, right? It's such a subjective term, because I also believe I have self-confidence when I'm doing things I know how to do, right? Like when I'm in my comfort zone, when I know what to expect, when I know that some things may go wrong, but I know what things might go wrong. And it's definitely kind of like a control thing for me. And I think for me, it was definitely just kind of like, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, and like this is not the first time that I've been, on the downslope of a business decision or whatever. And I took a week to just kind of sleep on it, And then I actually saw a post on Instagram one day. I like woke up and was just like, oh, what am I gonna do? And I like woke up and into the death scroll in the morning. And the very first like graphic when I opened Instagram was, you can do hard things. That was it. It was like a lime green background, and it was black text, and it was like, you can do hard things. And I was like, okay, I'm taking that as okay, we're gonna do this. We're just gonna like, we dwelled, we grieved, we whatever, and now we're just gonna move forward. And I think that, funny enough, like something like that was just kind of a light switch, right? It was just kind of a like, I've done hard things. Like I've done worse. I've suffered worse. I've done other things, and God, am I glad I did? Because I mean, like you said, it's cliche, but like it was life changing in so many ways. And I think what's interesting, it was life changing in the ways that I never expected. Like it wasn't just like, oh my God, they told me exactly what I needed to do, and that like now I'm like it wasn't like a tangible thing. It wasn't. It was so much more than that. Like so much more. Okay, so let's come back now. Okay, so we got to Tulsa. Did you drive or did you fly?
I flew. Yeah. It would be really, really far drive.
Yeah, me too. I went to school in Connecticut.
Actually, how far is it? Yeah, how far is it from Chicago?
It was like 17 hours or something.
Okay, yeah, that's way too far.
But yeah, 2 hours is too far for me. I will fly everywhere and anywhere if my boyfriend has nothing to say about it. He's a driver. I'm a flyer. So
like he drives, and I like road. Yeah, that's fair. But I don't know in that case. I'm like,
if we drive somewhere, he drives and I work on my laptop.
Oh, right,
Sorry, I got shit to do. I can't sit in a car for 17 hours and not also be getting something else done. That is a major flaw of mine.
That's funny. My toxic trait is I am productive at all times. Yeah,
all times, which is why we have to be doing multiple things, because if we're not being progressive at one thing, it has to be on another thing. We have to at least be moving on something.
I am that way for sure.
Yes. Oh my God, it's crazy. Okay, so all right, so we got to Tulsa. We were obviously kind of bitch slapped the day we got there, and was like, hey, welcome, like, whoa, okay. So thinking about the entire week, that you were in Tulsa, what was the like hardest part for you? What did you find to be like the most challenging part?
I think, I mean, honestly, and I've thought about this a little bit, but I think like I think the challenging part for me is being away from my family and physically not. I am very routine. So I like work out at the same time every morning, and we have like a structure in the schedule. And I think um, like I'm my best self when I'm like get to be in that unpredictable, very predictable, not unpredictable phase. So I think
Yeah.
that probably was the hardest. It's just I adapt fast and like it was fine, but it didn't mean like I was constantly like, what are they doing? I miss them, and just not going to bed and not doing part of the routine. It's more about like mom guilt. Like we have that and
Yeah.
partner guilt and like what, FOMO for sure, like with relative to like my home base. Honestly, I
Yeah.
think that was the hardest part.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
The oldest is 6 and then the twins are 3.
Okay. And like they're so young still, right? Like especially
Yeah,
the
that's
3-year-olds,
right.
like they're
And they
they're they're doing
know.
so much. Literally something happens every day where you're like, "Oh,
Yeah, and they
yeah.
miss you in a real way, and they may not be sleeping without, it's just like the good night really matters, and we're very, my husband and I, like, we both do the thing, the mornings and the nights, and I don't know, it's just the way we like to do it, so it's just
Yeah.
weird, but it's
So
also like,
so
that's
so
life.
shaking
Yeah.
things up was kind of hard. Yeah, on top of not having any idea what that week was going to be like.
Yeah, and I actually like that part of it. It's very CrossFit like the unpredictable, constantly varied. You know what you're gonna get into, but I also know I'm like, okay, but I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna do a workout, and then I'm gonna like go home back to my life. So it's like I love a little bit of gambling and not
Yeah.
knowing what's happening, but I also like the fact that I would go back to my room and then I would just be like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do with myself? I'd be
Yeah.
prepping for the next day, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's like I felt like my superpower was like off a little.
Yeah. So what on the flip side of that, what did you find to be, I don't want to say the easiest because I truly don't think anything about the week was easy. In a good
Eating.
way. In a good way. But like what do you feel like was the most instead of easy, let's just say like what did you feel the most confident in, or like what parts of the process felt the most aligned for you, maybe like that it wasn't so, oh my god, imposter syndrome, all of the things.
I mean, I think the competition aspect of it was something that I was like, I picked up the formula fast, I think is what I wish I had picked it up a little bit faster, because after the first day I was like, oh, okay. But I think
You
to
picked it
that
up just in time to beat me on day 5.
that was a competition. Like that day was wild because that was a strong room. I mean, everybody brought their A game there. I learned a lot. I took so many, like we weren't allowed to really take notes because you had to have your books closed. But I was like mental noting, and then when we had breaks, like would scribble stuff down that I had
Yeah.
heard. I'm like, that's such a good idea for like, business stuff. Like you have to have like we'd have like breaks in, when the group after they were done and like
Yeah.
going to the next phase. And I'm like, oh my God, I gotta remember all the cool stuff they just said. And I'm like, I know it's recorded, but I'm like, I might not see this for a few months. So anyways, that was cool. That was fun. But yeah, so the I think that part was good. But the thing about it that at the end of the day, it was like I think the networking aspect of like by far and away the thing about the blocks that I find to be just the most important thing, like the element that really stood out for me is just, and I don't want to say the word networking. It's like it was the I don't know, this like organic connection of people who are all like-minded with a purpose. I don't think I've ever been in a room where everyone had a seat at the table. Everybody, no matter whether or not you were getting up to the final stage or not, like everybody in that room had something to give, and like they all mattered. Everybody was equal. Like, cool, we have to create some sort of like tiered system of sorts based on a formula that was calculated that we didn't even know what the rubric was. But like none of that really mattered. Like at the end of the day, it was like, I am surrounded by a bunch of people that I'm going to know for my life. Like we are all going to be successful and we're going to connect as we get bigger and bigger and get on bigger stages. And who knows what's to come. Like this was just a jumping off point. So I would
Yes.
say like, to me, that was easy because I didn't even know it was happening. It was very much osmosis, right?
That's a great point. You know, I never really thought of it like that, that it was such a subliminal thing that like it wasn't really something that we were like, okay, it's networking time, gotta put my
Yeah.
networking hat
Yeah.
on, you know? It was
Yeah.
like that was a very organic I would call it more just like relationship building. I feel like like
Yeah.
when you go to a networking event, there's a wall, right? Each of us have a
Right.
wall, and you spend most of the networking event trying to like, you know, break it down enough of the wall to figure out what it is that this person's all about, right? And I feel like the very first meal that we had that was in the like other room, you know, I remember walking in there and it was already noisy when we walked in there because people were already like hooting and hollering and at their tables.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What am I doing?
I think Jess was like my CFO with me. I think she was like kind of like, come on, let's go. And I was like, I'm so overwhelmed.
It is. It's very overstimulating. I will definitely say that for sure. It was exhausting, but like also very empowering. It was like a
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that like you didn't want to call it networking because I truly wouldn't call it that either. I wouldn't. It was even at the very first, no longer than 3 minutes of sitting at the table for someone to be like deeply telling their story, not just being like, I'm a brand photographer in Chicago, like like. I mean, it was wild to me. It was absolutely wild to me, and that was actually, I agree. That was probably one of the biggest things I took home with that was that like. That was so well curated without us really even knowing. Like,
100%.
so well curated. And I think that's what I told Wes at the end on the day, well, like when we finally got to like talk to him, and I don't know, I spewed 3 minutes of like, this is all of these things, and he was just like, that might be the most detailed something or other compliment I've ever received. And I was like, I don't know if you're joking or if you're like,
I will take that accolade. And
I was like, okay.
In my heart forever. Yeah, I know. I know. It was that part when you're talking to him and you're like, I was very sarcastic per usual, but I also definitely told him my level of appreciation was deep. But I think it's like, how could you possibly convey or communicate to somebody the way that they've shaped your life? And I'm sure he gets that all the time. But like,
I was just gonna say though, I think he gets it. Like, I think
he's like, I know.
We overthink. Like, how could I possibly show the level of appreciation that actually exists in me? And what I did was just vomit a bunch of words that I don't even know what I said anymore. But like, how could I possibly? And in hindsight, it's like. He pulled what he needed to from it. He got it. His cup was filled from that, whether he was sarcastic about it or not, right? Yeah. Like he pulled what he needed from that. He like it was received, but like we just overthink all of it so much.
Like, like I've given speeches a million times already, but I'm fatigued. I think the other thing is like I really didn't want to talk about myself at all at there. I realized like every time I go to dinner and people be like, oh, so tell me about it. I was like, I just want to hear your thing. Like, we do, cause we were doing so much of talking about ourselves during those, specific bits. And I think it was like, I'm so excited to hear about what the person next to me is saying. And like, the person across from me, I'm like, the fact that we're all here together, it's like that, this is the most high value action item that I could do. Like being here talking to these people, there's nothing else that I should be doing. And I think that was nice because I was really struggling with the fact that I wasn't home. So
yeah. I want to know her story, right? Like we don't want to talk about ourselves because we want to hear about everybody else, but they think the same thing, right? So like we're all kind of in this boat of like, especially by day 5. Oh my God, none of us wanted to. I mean, like day 5, I feel like was probably the quietest meals because you could just tell everybody was so tired.
No, I was. That last day, I was very tired for sure. It was tough.
Oh my God,
it was tough. Yeah, no.
It was.
It's vivid. That I have a very vivid memory of for sure.
Actually, you have a really funny story about day 5. Will you tell everybody your story about day 5?
It's Jessi. That was private, but okay.
You know what? I bet you were not the only one either.
I don't think so. That trip. I would imagine not. And the realization is that I will push like super hard, and then I have this tendency to get sick. But something. I don't know if the food or like just exertion or whatever the stuff is, stress from, guilting out. The last day I was really, really sick, so I didn't really sleep that night, which, was not ideal 'cause I really like my sleep, like most people. And so I ended up being so sick, and I was like, maybe I should just like be done for today and I'll just let this day go. And then I was like, are you serious? Like, you're just gonna quit? And Jasmine caught me on the way out. Like, we were going back to our seating area, and I hadn't even really had a chance to chat with her, and she just came up and she like just had this ability to just sort of calm my fears about it, and basically said, you need to stop. Like, you're creating a blockade that doesn't need to happen, and you need to just really have confidence in yourself and go forth and like believe in what you're doing. And I was like, okay. And a lot of people did that. JOT did that for me. Like, she would just be like, this is what you meant to do. Like, you need to do this. And you've said this to me, outside of the blogs. And I think that the reinforcement of that was like, yeah, I might have a physical consideration that I'm not feeling great and I'm not my best. And how am I possibly going to put my best foot forward on this last day? But I did, and I think like I showed up. I was really vulnerable during our sessions. I feel like I took in the information like very well, but I was, it was like, our brand persona, how we show up for our brand, and personal branding, which is not my strength at all. Like, it is very much a weakness of mine, but I learned a lot from that particular session. So I'm glad I didn't like walk away, which I would have never forgiven myself if I had anyway. So I'm not really one to quit. So
yeah. So I mean, like, what a message though to entrepreneurs in general, because the blocks are not right. There's going to be days and commitments and things that come up, and we might be feeling sick, we might be feeling overwhelmed, we might be feeling stressed, we might be whatever, but quitting really isn't an option. As a business owner, quitting really isn't an option. And not to say that you can't take sick days. That is not what I mean. But like, like just throwing your hands up, like, no, whatever, it's not really an option. Choosing to like make different choices for this day because of the way that we're feeling, sure. But like, quitting, not an option, right? And you come from a competitive and athletic background. Like, it's just that it's not an option, right? Yeah. So kudos to you for, going through day 5 and crushing it and kicking my ass on personal branding day. I was really upset about it at first. And then I was like, damn, she did so good.
So good. You really did. But remember, there's a rubric that we didn't see.
I know.
You're like,
I am so bad with definitions and shit. Like, I am not a school person at all. And so, like, I knew that was going to be my nemesis the whole week. I knew it. Yeah. Even as much as I tried to, like, really, like, think, I have been doing a lot of these things for 15 years and I call them something else. That's just like that's just a really hard thing for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it was just funny. It was funny. And I loved you for it. Like, at first I was like, what the hell? And then I was like, thank you, Jesus. I do not have to go on that stage.
I mean, that was a hard night to go. Like, honestly, just because we were so tired. And I also knew that like I was potentially throwing a wrench into the scoring system. It was just there was a lot of weird moments of that. And I was like, I just want to go home and be sitting on the couch for a minute. You're just like, I just need a quick refresh. But it was really cool. That last night was so fun because there were also like a lot of people who hadn't been on the stage yet. Mm-hmm. And it's an adrenaline. It's very stressful.
I was just going to say, adrenaline is what got you through that, isn't it? Yeah.
It was. And it's like, and I don't know. And I think like, but it was cool that people got to sort of try it out and see what that was like. And it's not for the faint of heart, but also like no one in the audience, everyone was really supportive. I think we're all doing the same thing. Like no one's, everyone's feeling the same way. So I think that was a positive thing, but no, you did a great job. Everyone did.
I wore my pink pants. I wore my personal brand. So I mean,
you really did. I was like, I still am figuring it out, but that's why I said it's like, it wasn't really about who understands the concept to the fullest extent.
Absolutely.
It's like, how do you align to the very specific rubric? Because that's the only way that they know how to manage.
And it's a TV show. Like we can't take away from the fact that like, this is a TV show. We're never going to fully understand the rubric. Yeah. And like hindsight, I was like, I'm fine. I did not want to go on stage.
A lot of people were saying that to me 2 minutes before they announced my name too. They were like, I do not want to go tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. There, I guess. I was like, are we all supposed to want to go up there even if we don't? Yeah, but by then I was feeling a little better. So that was good.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. It was a good night. It was, like you said, it was nice to see some other people up there. So I have like a deeper kind of like,
here we go.
Might get kind of juicy question here.
No sleep and physical illness.
No, it has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with that really. But I truly wonder, and I've watched a handful of the other seasons, and I feel like there were definitely some repetitive people on stage, but I kind of felt like the rubric was really hard to kind of guesstimate too, based on the fact of like who was on the stage every night. And you know, funny enough, I was never in a pod with a lot of the people who were up there on more than one day, minus the flick of a wrist. Because man, those people every day, I was like, damn it! Well, I'm not gonna win today because they're in my group. But I don't know. I felt like I'm trying to think of like the best way to to say this on camera.
Right now, and I'm hearing the tea, and I'm ready to pause. I'm like, let's go.
As my 7-year-old son would say, this is rigged, bro. This is rigged. This game is rigged, bro. So yes, my name is Bro at home. I am not Mom. My name is Bro.
I was like, yes, that.
Bro.
That is a bad word now.
Yo, bro. What the heck, bro? Just one more minute, bro. Yo, my name is not Bro. All right, my name is Mom, and I pushed you out, and you need to shut up now. Anyway, okay. So I'm curious your thoughts. In general, we don't have to get specific here because I'm not trying to really I'm really not trying to stir anything. But I'm curious if I'm the only person that kind of maybe was like slightly underwhelmed by the Blox-offs because it did not feel very diverse across the week.
So I had some thoughts about that too. I was in pause with like a few of the people that were in that made it to the stage here and there, right? And then the last day we got to choose where we wanted to go, and I had like put a couple of suggestions in there. So who you get, right? And that was like the first time I think I was in a room where like I had never been in a pod with anyone in that room. So that was, and I liked that. I was like, I loved that aspect of it too. Again, I think there's like trying to navigate all of those people, trying to do it so quickly. And then I also think there's a couple of like, there were people who were prepping hard the night before. Like I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. I'm like, okay, that's part of it. And I think like some of that work ethic, like, and work effort was productive. Like it ended up manifesting into a place where they were able to perform really well. I also think some people are really good public speakers, like amazing. And just the work, I was like,
like by nature, like they don't even try.
And I'd be like, I am here. You went, like, that's it. You are crushing it. And just being confident. And again, I think like the pairing of like truly you have to sort of guess what you think the rubric is, align your talking points to that. You have to be able to memorize fairly quickly, make sure you're not missing any of that in the session, creating connectivity between your judge and the people in the room. And then ultimately also have like a presentation, like the ability to have a presence. I think that was really important. And I will say that there probably was an element. It's human judgment too, right? So like there's always going to be a level of
subjectiveness,
right? Has to, right? Like how else do you make the choices? But also when you saw them in like the final stage part, you're given so little time. Like most of the subject here is like, it's a pop quiz and you're like literally not going to know anything. So either you really understood the concept in terms of the rubric or you didn't, or you're now also communicating about your particular brand or product or whatever it was, and maybe you're not at that stage yet, so it's like you have to kind of like make it up a little bit. So and maybe you haven't even had time to think about that. Like you have to be willing to forecast and be a little imaginative. So I think like, I don't know, it really plays into a very specific skill set, I would say. Like, yeah, I don't know, that was my interpretation.
Yeah, and I think that it was really interesting because I felt like outside of like the subliminal networking thing, the biggest thing I took away from the experience was, opening the mindset to like other like just trying to think like wider, trying to think like deeper. Because I was just really, really intrigued by how differently everybody interpreted the task, like the prompt that we got to create the 3-minute presentation. I just found it so fascinating how differently it was read, absorbed, regurgitated. I just was like, oh, I thought it was so cool. And like you said, it was hard because I really wanted to be like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. I need to write that down. But we were not allowed to write in our books.
Remember everything. And also you have to do your presentation. So it was a weird mix. That part was weird. Yeah, but
it was. Do you feel like, did you get to go like earlier in your pods, or were you later like we were almost always like at like the last few people in our pod, except for like one day.
No, I was all over the place. I went first once. I went last in ours. I was the last one. I was in the middle, like front and back. I mean, I think I actually literally hit every spot.
I felt like we were always at the end, and it was always me being like looking at Jess being like, I did not answer, like we did not answer this correctly. And she's like, no, they did not answer this correctly. And I'm like,
I mean, that's also true.
How many answers are there?
You have to block it out and be like, I know this is what I'm going to say. I just got to trust that that's the way it goes.
After day 2, I finally was like, okay, we made our bed. We gotta lay in it now. Like I can't, because the first 2 days I was so like trying to change what we did in my head, and then those presentations were the ones where I was literally like, and then even with the book in my face, like was stumbling over my words and like lost my trail of thought. And asked for $800 million when I only, or asked for $1 million on Money Day when I make $800 million a year, apparently is what I said. I was like, oh my God, why am I asking for chump change?
It's so funny because I had just done I had worked with a bunch of companies in my like everyday work. I worked with a bunch of companies that had like been doing some VC money, and I had done a bunch of reading on like equity plays and grants and all that stuff before that. So that particular session, I felt really good about. That was the first time I got on stage. I like loved that one, and everyone was like, that was awful. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get any money, but I understand the topic. Yeah.
And that's just it. That's just it. It is literally, half of the time was not about having the correct term memorized. It was about understanding what that actually meant and being able to like for
your fake company that may or may not ever see the light of day from a VC, especially in a time right now where like VCs are basically not giving money out necessarily, right? So it's as they used to, like it used to be.
Yeah. But, we actually had an opportunity a couple months before TheBlox. This was probably like why a couple weeks before I was ready to just like burn everything. But we had an opportunity to take over a building, and we had already been in some talks with investors about some of this stuff, and it all fell through. But thank God. But it kind of gave me the scenario because it was for the production house that we had a 10-year goal to open a production house. And we're about 5 years into that 10-year thing. And so it was too early, but it was also this opportunity that we couldn't pass up. We had to at least explore it. And so I had the scenario. I felt comfortable in the fact that I had the scenario that actually made sense. Yeah. But then I somehow said 800 million instead of 800,000 or something or other. Right. And you can't take that back. So I'll probably be the crickets person on the show when it's like, I'm asking for $1 million when I make 800 million. Crickets.
I heard that there were a lot of challenges with that particular one, so I wouldn't worry that much.
It is what it is. I mean,
stats for the stats, like it is what it is. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, it is what it is at this point. It's done. It's done and done. It's etched in stone. There's really nothing we can do about it now.
That's right. I mean, kind of, and you just won't do that in real life, like, which is way more important.
Exactly. All right. So the proper official dictionary definition of a breakthrough is a sudden, dramatic, and important discovery or development. So when you think to your time at TheBlox, so like while we were actually filming, what would you say was your biggest breakthrough while we were there?
I
It can be
think,
personally or professionally, really. It's because we,
yeah.
honestly, I think TheBlox was almost possibly more personally elevating than business to a lot of us.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it was I've already sort of spoken to that a bit, but I think it was a realization that I like do need to move forward. I think there was not that I wasn't thinking I should, but sometimes you just need a little bit of a push.
You need to
Uh,
hear it from somebody else.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like now in a room full of other people doing things, and you're like, okay, all right, we're all. I don't know. It's just like it's nice. Maybe misery loves company, but probably not the most appropriate saying. But sometimes it is misery loves being with.
But yes, many of us were also just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, we're all suffering. So that might be, but honestly, I think it was just like, oh, I'm now going to have this like embedded network of. We've all been through a shared experience, so there's going to be connective tissue that we just didn't realize that we had. As soon as we leave here,
Mm-hmm.
this is not going to end, and I think that was, yeah, that was like really remarkable. Like for me, that meant a lot. That
Yeah,
felt, yeah,
that's amazing. And we've already been doing so much in the group. I mean, I see so many people
yeah,
collaborating and talking and working
yeah,
together. I mean, it's just fantastic to see. And I
yeah,
think again that comes from, the walls are already down. We're
yeah,
we're not like having to do all this research of all these other people of whatever. Like we know that in our hearts that anybody who's been through this experience has certain common denominators, right? A
right,
being the experience itself, but B,
yeah.
being that like-minded entrepreneur. So I find that really interesting too. So where would you say you are today now that we are 3.5 months post post filming? What kind of breakthroughs have you had in that time from filming? So now we've kind of been able to like, sit on that and kind of simmer it and kind of like figure out, how we're going to apply that. What are your breakthroughs now from being 3 months out or 3 months past?
I mean, I've had a lot. So I think there's a lot of volatility in terms of your emotional state, right? So I think the build. So I have no problem with the grind. We've talked about this before. I can outwork anyone. Like that's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to the build of the product, doing tons of formulations and taste testing and beta testing and developing educational material, all that stuff. That over the course of a year, like that almost felt easy because there's this momentum. You're not on a judgment. Like it's such a different situation. And I think where the blocks was kind of like, okay, now you need to go and do this thing. And I think it's like this is the part that's hard. It feels like it's the last mile, but it's really not. That was only like the first 5K, and now we have a whole race left to do, right? So now I launched the website, which was a bit of a labor of love, but also not because it was already there and it was like sitting with me. I had joined a brain trust group that is specializing within the menopause space and have been pretty active as part of that group. I've partnered with two um, uh, organizations that like two companies that for organic and paid media through the blocks, and I'm working with them actively. We're just a couple weeks out, 3-4 weeks out from like launching all of that. You and I have worked together. I was part of your summit, which was amazing. I really loved it. And like just being, it's like you get these little, it was like extra spark, like continued spark, like
It was
continued
the water
momentum.
tables on the run. It was the little
Yes,
Gatorade
yes,
tables.
yes, yes. It's very much. I like that we keep doing this like race thing. By the way, the analogy. So yeah, it was that. And then Jill helped me with like copy, and because it's just like knowing what your weaknesses are, outsourcing what makes sense, but not being so far away from the process that you're not embedded. And so I am part of it, but I'm not necessarily doing it. And I love
Yeah.
it. And I think that's been something that's been really good for me is like delegating in a way that still creates connection, but also
Mm-hmm.
eliminates the things that I'm just not an expert at so that I can focus.
Delegating is hard in general too, like as a woman too, delegating is just hard. And I feel like I'm a huge believer of like delegating in ways that feels right, not
Yeah.
necessarily always that makes the most sense per se,
Yeah.
like on paper or on the bank account. Like I truly feel like it has to feel right. It has to feel aligned. You have to feel like the people who are helping you get it, right? They either get it or they have a similar passion, or they they are someone where you feel instantly kind of like you're back in motion, like the wheels are moving, right? So, kudos to you for that, because I think that delegation is a really hard process of entrepreneurship for sure.
Yeah, it is. But I'm really thankful. Like I would never have, like, this conversation obviously wouldn't have happened, wouldn't have known about the summit, wouldn't have known Jill, wouldn't have known Kayla from Golden Bird and Yamu Media, like that group and like what they're doing to help support my business. I'm also working. Kayla's going to help me with my organic for the gym too. And I'm like super excited and like helping facilitate the things that I'm passionate about, but also I'm going to get to learn too from people who know what they're doing in a really tangible way. So I love that.
Yes. I love that. I love that truly, because it's again, it's kind of like that wall, that barrier was not as deep because we kind of already had this common denominator. We kind of already heard some of your story. We kind of already had talks with you. We kind of it kind of just felt right. It kind of stumbled upon itself, if that's like the worst way to say it. But I mean, like, it just kind of happened. It organically just sort of fell into place. And I'm a true believer in that. So, well, that's amazing. We will definitely be linking all of your links in the show notes below. We'll make sure and we tag your gym in there too, for sure. We'll like leave all the links in there. So I love to end this with just like random rapid fire. That's just kind of like random ass questions. So, okay, I think you said you were drinking tea, but is that coffee or is that tea, and what kind?
Tea. So I drink coffee, but I try to limit it to one a day. So this is green tea, which I love green tea. So
Is it like a specific brand or
not
anything
particular?
fancy?
I kind of mix. I love it's like candles. It's just like a million different kinds. I'm kind of like, I have a candle going and then whatever this tea is. And I kind of play around with different ones, but I lived in London for a bit and I was I worked over there overseas. And that's when I really started getting tea. So I have a kettle and all the things. And I'm like, how do people not have kettles here? So if you don't have a kettle, highly recommend. It heats
like a tea kettle?
Yes.
The one that goes
electric. No, it doesn't even it's silent and has a blue light and just, it's so much faster. So anyway, I drink the tea.
Goes on Amazon and finds an electric tea kettle.
I mean, honestly, I'm like, it heats up anything and everything that you would immediately, even with the kids when they were like little, you heat up the bottles faster. You can put the water in. I was like, it's just, our lives are.
Oh, man, I'm coming to you for hacks, man. You got.
I always tell people, because I'm very good with like little hacks. I said, my hacks are not going to change your life unless you take all of them into account. There are teeny tiny hacks that over all of them would actually make your life change. But yeah, that's my thing.
Do you have you could totally just start making Amazon affiliate income with like, look at my tea kettle.
I should. I mean, no, but thank you for introducing me to another.
You totally could. Fun fact, we are going to be doing that in 2025 with 2025. Yeah. 2025. We are going to be doing that with just some of our our podcasting equipment and like just kind of things that people are always asking about. Not like come shop my Amazon shop, but just like the things that I use and giving people the resources to go to it. Like, sure, why not sign up to be an affiliate? Okay.
Yeah,
if you go buy a $200 mic, sure, I'll get 10 cents from it. Why not?
Well, if MenoVita if I end up moving it to Amazon, we'll see at some point. I will. You should definitely be affiliate for that too. Everybody can have a chance to be an affiliate for MenoVita.
You totally should build an affiliate system for that. All the Bloxers would totally go all over that.
That would be amazing.
Oh my God. I love that. Okay. 2 more. What is your go-to productivity hack? And I'm totally asking you this one because I feel like you are the right person to ask for this.
Oh, okay. So I've really embraced AI, to be honest with you. And my favorite platform to use is Perplexity AI. Ooh. So if you're not using Perplexity, you're welcome. I've just introduced it to you. You can use it for free for a pretty long time. They also have an app, but the type of information you can get. It's already all referenced. I was able to use a lot of that to help bake out my clinical information for my ingredients. So I could have like all of the studies that were done and do the analysis on that. And it put it in a rank order with like the titles alphabet. I mean, you can do so much with it. So Perplexity, you're welcome.
Pulling it up over here. Okay.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
the best,
I'm here for this.
in my opinion, personally. So yeah.
That's amazing. I will also, do you have an affiliate link?
No, I don't even know that they do that, but I'm like, so good.
If you pay for an account, they probably have an affiliate program. And if they do,
your productivity hack. Yours is revenue generating. Mine is just for, working.
Whatever. I'm checking this out later. I'm gonna put it in the links so that other people can check it out too. Because
awesome.
my problem is I have too many tools like that.
Yeah.
I'm very quick to buy it, not even buy into, but like I'm very quick to like jump into a new tool, which I think I'm learning on the hindsight of that I just really like to like continue to learn, not just I'm trying to do things the easy way. But I have way too many tools. I really need to. My CFO's like, what are all of these subscription charges? I'm like, I don't even know.
It's really helpful if you're not using. I'm like a huge fan of time blocking, and I plan out my schedule for the week, and I know which appointments I have, what are the critical priority items, but I don't buy a fancy planner for that. I just like because I love.
I have a it's not on my desk. I just got this Panda planner, but it's a Rocket book, so it's the reusable ones.
I have one of those too.
I have like multiple thoughts about it because I really can't stand the way that the pen's write on that paper.
I know.
And the markers don't dry.
It's good for. I feel like that's good for notes for me. Like if I'm doing note stuff, but I feel like I still really like the traditional. Permanent for planning, blocking. But yeah.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of time blocking. Huge fan. It's probably like the only way that I keep my mind straight.
Me too.
Do you plan on Sundays or Mondays? Saturdays? What day? Like
usually Mondays. So Mondays if Monday ends up being like a really, I might not even, if I just can't get to it, it's fine. Like I'm not hard on myself with that stuff. I like it. So it's kind of like, I enjoy the process of it. I enjoy the like control of like, I am planning this week and these are the things that I'm going to do. So for me, it's like kind of like a simple joy moment for me, I guess a little bit. So I get excited when I get to do it, but if it doesn't work out and I can't get to it I haven't had a chance to do it today. Yesterday was super busy. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll get to it later or I'll do it tomorrow morning or I'll do it at night, but it's not like a chore for me.
That's good.
And I think
that's a good relationship with it.
I feel very, very good. We're healthy. Yes, we're a healthy relationship right now as me and time blocking, but yeah.
I like that. All right, last one.
Okay.
That one's too close. Name a book, which I think you kind of maybe already did, but maybe there's a different one. Name a book that has changed your entire business approach.
So I am reading because the Yama Media team had told me about it, and I actually already knew some of the principles. I'm reading a book, Traction, right now. I have it right here. So I've just been reading it as Traction. So I really like it. Like I said, some of the stuff I already knew about or heard, but I didn't realize it was attached to this, and have through business, have heard some of these principles.
Yeah.
So that one's a big one. So then two others that I think are really, really important is Radical Candor. I read that book when I was quite young. And then I read it again now, in a different, obviously, phase of my life and career and all that stuff. And now I've had kids and stuff. And it was so strange reading that book with the life experience that I've had, but also that is something that I've realized how it is super, super, super important to be able to provide feedback to people. It is critical for them and for yourself to be direct and empathetic. Those two things that's leadership. It basically is a leadership book, but it's very tactical. And I think that's super helpful. And then I want to make a plug for if you haven't read Good Energy by Dr. Casey Means, that book has just changed my life a lot recently. And I reference it a lot, and it's really, really good in terms of your health and wellness. And I don't really know how you can do anything without that. Right. So, it's really, really
I also approve of the book cover of that one. It's very pretty.
Yeah. She was just on Joe
Rogan. That's how I buy books.
Yeah. I think she was just interviewed. I think she was just interviewed on Joe Rogan, which I was kind of surprised because I didn't know I don't know why she wouldn't have been, but yeah, she's amazing. That book is like every page I was like, what, like no joke. So it's worth reading.
Love it. I'm going to link all of those in the show notes for sure, because like this is amazing. I'm going to tag on like a half of another question on there. Are you a physical book person or an audio book person?
I'm definitely, I like audiobooks, but I also love podcasts. So I feel like I'm always having to choose. So I have like audiobooks, but then I'm like, oh, but I'm behind on this episode. So like, I won't, so I have to choose. And I like that. I like physical books for being in bed. And like, I just want to have something to read. It's funny. That's one of the things that was odd for me is my most recent, I'm a big reader. And I think like my brain got very overstimulated with the launch of everything to the point where I was like, I couldn't almost even consume content anymore. I couldn't consume podcasts. I couldn't consume reading because life was just so chaotic because I'm trying to launch this thing. I'm like, I can't take any more inputs. Like I've gotten all the inputs. I need to take a breather. So I would say that I have been a little bit more negligent on my reading, but that was also just self-preservation a little bit. And I've started to get back into it. And I read like business books instead of like just fun books. So I'm trying to read some more fun books, but it's hard to do that.
Yes. Would you say that you like strictly business or like business and personal development?
Yeah, like business and personal development stuff, like for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much that we can learn.
These are my two favorites.
Oh yeah, I've read on
and obviously they look pretty because why would I buy a physical book if it wasn't pretty? I love that. But like this holographic book, this holographic book is like my favorite thing, even just to hold. Like I want to eat it.
I get that.
But I have read it also, which is shocking. You don't like I'm not really a huge book person in general. I never really have been. I'm trying to be more book-ish in my adult life. And one of my clients actually runs this, her company's called Bookcation, and she builds vacations for avid readers that like you go in a group of women and it's like a vacation with books. And I don't fully understand the concept because I'm not a big book person, but like it sounds really cool. And I'm actually filming it in it's like the one she has coming up in the spring is in Lake Geneva. And I'm actually going out to like photograph and film it for her brand. And I'm just like, this is so cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, that sounds amazing. I've heard about some of those things based on a specific book. Like you can go explore that scene or, the place or whatever. But I'll
send you the website. I don't think it's like, I don't think it's anything like super specific like that. I think it's more of just like a planned getaway.
Read and just enjoy.
Like you don't have to be with everybody all the time, but they do have a couple things that like they have you do. It seems really cool. Even though I'm not a reader, it seems really cool. So
I love that. Very great. Yeah.
All right, Martina, if anybody is, vibing with us and you, not us, just you, what is the best way for them to find you, connect with you? Where are you most active? Besides the gym.
That's true. Like physically active. Instagram, I would say I will MenoVita Power is like my MenoVita_power is on IG. And then I also have a personal account, which I am particular about my Facebook friendships and my thing, but with the Blox people, I'm always like, yeah, everybody. So I'm at Coffee and Barbells for, people I know. I'm just particular. I don't post like a ton, but MenoVita will be posting more. I'm excited about what's to come. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'll probably even be more because there's going to be more education around that. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing my part. So
Amazing. Well, I'm going to link all of that for you guys in the show notes. Make sure you guys check out her launch. By the time some people watch this, it's already going to be launched. If Blox people are watching it from our private link, make sure you guys do you have an email list? Is there a way for people to get on the launch train?
Yeah. If you go to MenoVitaPower.com, like we have access to all of that. And we have a free, I have like a checker. So it's like a free checker. You can download it and determine whether or not you're having symptoms that could be potentially perimenopausal that you can then take to your doctor. So, because again, it's not like medically diagnosed per se, but when you start looking at all the symptoms, you're like, you can't live with this for a decade. And I would say, yes, you're correct. You should not do that. So
yes.
Self-advocation is really important.
Yes, Martina's here advocating for all of you guys. So I highly guarantee. Oh my God, I can't even talk today, guys. It's Monday. It is the Mondayest Monday I have ever had. Oh my God. If you guys are interested in checking that out, the links are in the show notes. Definitely go check out this free checker. Check out her launch. Get on board. Get on her email list. And I love this. Martina, thank you so much for coming on today, spending this hour with me, chatting about all this juice. I love this. I love talking to you. I love your energy. I love your passion. I just love it. So, all right, guys, that is it for today's episode, but you can join us on the next one. We will see